Hi everyone, thanks for joining. I have Cara Martin here with me from Digio. Cara, thanks for joining.
Thanks, million, Dhruv.
Can you, Cara, give me an introduction about how you got in the field of tech and what does Digio actually do?
So how I actually ended up in the tech industry, there isn't a huge amount of women necessarily in the tech industry. A lot of women shy away from that area. But how I ended up in the industry is when I was going to college, I loved biology. That was my big thing. I loved science and I loved biology. And in the school that I used to go to, you could do physics, chemistry and biology up to third year. But then after third year, you were only allowed to pick one of the subjects, which was either biology or physics, but not chemistry, because it was too expensive at the time for the school to run. And you were only allowed to pick one. So I picked biology because I loved biology. But then when I went to college, my father asked me at the time, what would you like to do? And I said, I don't really mind anything except computers, actually was my reply at the time. So then it turned out that when I went to college, I got science in UCD. That was my first choice. And I was really happy with that. But when I went in to actually attend, I had to pick 4 subjects for first year. And every single combination of biology went with chemistry. And I didn't have chemistry. And I tried really hard during the summer to kind of catch up on just the chemistry end of things. I didn't really like chemistry. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do? So I ended up taking a completely different combination. I ended up taking maths, physics, geology, and computer science. And then you had to drop one subject each year. And it just turned out, because I liked maths and I was good at maths, that I happened to be really good at computer science. And that I just kind of fell into it rather than actually choosing it. So, yeah.
So you probably got into the field when it was the .com boom had come, or just before that?
So after my first 4 years in university of doing my computer science degree, and I majored in computer science. And I decided that I would like to kind of stay and do a little bit more research, because there was 2 emerging technologies at the time. One of them was the internet and the other one was AI. And they were both amazing new technologies. And I knew that and I wanted to stay and learn more about them. So the internet at the time, there wasn't like the World Wide Web as we would know it now. It was actually like black screens with green text where, you know, all of the different agencies and so on, the government agencies in America were joined together and talking and so on. So then HTML had been released, and it was a new language. And I learned it very quickly. It wasn't a difficult language at the time. It was very simple, but I learned it quite quickly and became the first web designer of the computer science department in UCD. So, but back then when you wanted to do web design, everything was coding. So it was like angle brackets and so on. So you would open up Notepad, because there were no editors, open up Notepad, type in the code, save it, upload it, and off you went. So I was teaching a lot of the postgraduates and so on HTML, whilst doing a master's, and my master's was actually in AI. So they were the 2. I managed to keep both those technologies going. So my master's was actually in handwriting recognition, which I really like, because there was a lot of psychology, you know, in the brain and how it works. So kind of tied in a lot with my love of biology. So it was a way for me to kind of combine all of those technologies together and keep learning in those fields.
So AI learning for you dates back from then?
From then, yeah.
And what is, like, how do you think from what you learned that time about AI and right now where we are with AI, what difference do you see right now, what you learned back then and right now? Is it similarly predicted, or is it something different?
I suppose one of the things is it emerged quicker than people had anticipated, because back then a lot of this stuff was very theoretical, that, you know, hopefully it will be able to do X, Y, and Z in the future. But I've seen it come on in leaps and bounds. It really has become embraced now. So back then it was only really being used by scientists and so on, and, you know, testing theories of how things might be able to work. They were only very, you know, like with handwriting recognition, it was in its infancy at the time, you know. But it's absolutely amazing what AI can do now. So I've been watching its growth over time and all the different areas. And I have to say, it's just now seeing people actually embracing it and all the companies actually taking it on board is phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay. So, Cara, I would now like to talk about Digio, where you were. So, what do you do? What does Digio do? And what are you like aiming for the coming years for Digio, I would say?
So Digio is a digital marketing and design agency. We primarily work with corporate enterprise clients, but very much so in like the tech industry or the pharma industries. And one of the things that we try to do is to basically take very, very complicated products and services that people want to deliver and turn them into stories that are very engaging that people can understand.
Okay. So something I would say relation to go-to-market strategies, or I would say you help tech companies go to market. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
When it comes to go-to-market, I would like to ask you about the technologies or I would say emerging technologies when it comes to go-to-market, because go-to-market is a very big thing when it comes to especially tech organizations right now, right? There's so quick, rapid evolvement of things that they're releasing, right?
Yeah.
The pace at which they're releasing, and there's a go-to-market strategy for at every level or version, if you want to call it, right? So let's talk a bit about that. Like, what do you think is the emerging technologies in the go-to-market space at the moment for tech companies, if you know, in that spectrum?
So I suppose there's a lot of tech companies coming out with new products, brand new products. A lot of them are using AI to as part of their backbone, if you like. And they're very, very complicated processes behind a lot of this technology and software. Amazing software. It can do phenomenal things, but the problem is that the people who are designing and running these companies are very, very technical people.
Okay.
They are brilliant in their field, but they're not marketing people. So what they usually find hardest is to take something that's quite high level, this high level technology, and actually explain it to the customers that they're trying to reach in a way that they can actually fully understand it and embrace it and see its value. So that's what we do. So there's a lot, particularly newer companies that have just come out with brand new technologies, or existing companies who have now embraced new technologies with AI and so on involved, and are trying to sell that to their clients. So they might come out with a new product and their entire sales team may not even fully understand it. It's very difficult to sell something if you don't understand it properly. So what we can do is we can sit with them, we can understand the technologies and then translate it into stories for them. So this can be, explainer videos, it can be sales enablement documentation, it can be emails and so on, but frame it in a way that makes it really easy for the sales team to then be able to sell it onto their clients and have that story generated for them so that it's a really easy sell for them. And that's a huge gap that we see at the moment, because what happens is the technologies come out, the sales teams don't fully know or embrace it, and they're finding it very difficult then to do the sale because they don't know how to explain it in a way that it shows value for the customer.
Yeah. That's very interesting, so when we talk about large organizations like in the tech and let's say in the pharma space, right, where there's larger sales team as well, and what you mentioned about the quick or the rapid changing in technology. So how, let's say, through technology, I would say the explainer videos or content that you create for the sales team for explaining the tech that they have made, how are you able to cope up with such technology changing so fast? And let's say you have one version coming out right now and you create explainer videos or content for that particular tool software, but then 2 months down the line, by the time you've created explainer stuff for that, you've got something new come up, because with OpenAI and all these companies, they're bringing things so quickly.
Changing.
So how are you? How is Digio, coping up, or helping these tech companies to cope up with such change and explaining that versions to them?
So clients, I suppose the model that we use is more of a retainer type model than a kind of a once-off. So what we'll do is we'll engage with clients of ours, kind of like a marketing or specialists for their marketing and for their sales teams, and on a monthly basis, we'll have a certain amount of maybe videos and a certain amount of brochures or sales enablement document and so on that we'll create for them, social media content, whatever it is that they need, so that it's not a kind of, because it isn't a one size fits all. You can't just create the materials, because the information is changing constantly. Also, advocacy videos are brilliant, where you have clients that are already using the technologies. The best advertisement for any product is a happy customer. So we will do advocacy videos with the clients, and use them to help any blockers there might be. For some companies, we'll even we'll set up a system, or we'll enable conversations even between clients and potential clients and so on. So we can assist companies to get rid of all these blocks that they're currently facing and really bring their products to market.
Okay, that's interesting. And speaking on like the knowledge base and what you create, because there's AI coming up, let's say even in video creation, or across any type of knowledge base as well, how much and how is Digio adapting to embracing AI in their content, or say explaining of these products for their clients? How is that happening?
So in Digio, we would have content experts, we have technical experts, we have copywriters, we have designers, video experts, and so on. So we have a full array of teams. So we've quite a big team in the UK, and also in the office in Dublin, which is expanding rapidly, because obviously there is a lot of technical companies, pharma companies, and so on. Ireland is a hub really for Europe. So a lot of what we would do would be to take all this information, also translating it into various different languages. That's very, very important as well. So we have all that expertise in-house. We have people who are absolutely brilliant at taking really complicated concepts and turning them into information that their clients will actually be able to embrace, understand, builds trust, and so on. And that's what we're about, more so than just, we don't just take a video. We make sure that we do all the research behind it first, so that the messaging is actually correct. And that's so important. You have to get that messaging correct, or it's still going to be just a technology that they don't quite understand or don't see its value.
Okay. So my next question, Cara, would be on the entrepreneurial or leadership side of things, right? What do you think that founders or people, I would say even starting their companies right now, because there's of course news coming in that day is not far where there's 2 or 3 people running $1 billion company or $1 billion valued company, right? So what is your message for nowadays new founders, that how should they embrace AI rather than be scared of it? What's your take on that?
Well, I suppose it's a little bit like technology in general. Years ago, when computers emerged, everybody was terrified that the computers would just replace everybody and everybody would lose their jobs. In reality, that's not what happens. These are tools that are emerging that your staff can use, and now you can use their time more effectively. So rather than doing repetitive tasks, you can get the tool to do the repetitive tasks and actually use your staff to do the more intelligent staff, the things that have to be thought about, that need input from humans, basically, to make sure that it's hitting the mark. So when it comes to AI, I would say that AI is a fantastic tool. It really can get rid of so many repetitive, laborious tasks. And it's all about taking your staff's time and making it more efficient and making them more efficient. It's not really going to replace completely that human intuition, that human contact. There'll always be face-to-face meetings. Humans like to talk to one another, so there'll always be the face-to-face meetings. There'll always be ingenuity coming from humans, but what can happen in a lot of companies is a lot of your staff are stuck doing kind of boring, tasks that are just repetitive. And what I see happening in industry now at the moment is that these tasks are becoming automated more and more with the use of AI tools and other automation tools. And the processes are being sped up, and it's freeing up time for the staff to actually do really, really good work as opposed to laborious work. So it's really about a shift in how staff work. They're much more efficient, they're much more effective. And I would say to any founder of a company or entrepreneur, don't be afraid to embrace this technology. It is a fantastic tool. It will help you with your business. No, it's not going to replace your staff. It's actually going to enhance their workflows. It's going to help them work better. What is very, very important, though, is that you train your staff properly. So the onboarding of these is very important. So what you don't want to do is overwhelm your staff with just brand new technology. And I actually spent years and years in IT training. I did over 20 years in IT training. So I'm quite familiar with how quickly people will embrace new technologies and, new systems and so on. It can be scary and it can take a while. But if it's done correctly and you give yourself enough time to embrace it, the efficiencies that it creates and, how more effective your staff are and how much of their time it frees up in terms of being able to actually be much more functional is actually amazing. So you get a huge amount back from a good investment in good technologies like AI.
Yeah, that's what I agree. So that's what I think as well with AI, like the tools that you mentioned. One, I would say the education of AI is very important, like what's going on in the market. But I think it increases the capacity of an individual. It can be a staff, it can be a founder as well, right?
Yeah.
So the capacity to do the number of tasks through AI, like you mentioned, the repetitiveness, that's what we perfect digitals we also use. Like we're also that's what we're trying to do. The process orientation, the repetition of tasks is being done through AI quite a lot, right? And it gives exactly the same results. So there's no scope for error in a good way. That's what I'm talking about through AI.
Yeah, and I think as well when you look at it, it's a lot of it is number crunching and data analysis, and for a human to do the amount of computation that would be involved to find trends and so on, that's what we're really, really good at. It's fantastic at taking vast amounts of information that no human would ever have enough time to go through,
definitely.
and taking out the most important parts of it and actually, giving you information from that. So you're just taking raw data and you're turning it into information. We have been doing this to some extent with reporting tools like Power BI and so on, which are fantastic in themselves. But now with AI starting to integrate into that as well, it's just vast amounts of numbering and also much, much better predictions, which we weren't able to do before. So it's not only just looking at existing data, it's looking at future trends now, based on information that it's learned over time, trends that it's learned over time. It's now able to predict things and really help with decision making. At the end of the day, it's always going to be a human making the decision at the end of the day, because it may not exactly get it right. A lot of time these things have to go through a lot of training before they start getting it right, and that's going to be human interaction that's going to say, yeah, this is working, that's not working, and so on. So there is a lot of training involved. But once they start training and they start learning and stuff, it's absolutely phenomenal the amount of information that you actually can get back and how fast you can get back. And it's just not possible for humans to be able to do that amount of research and to be able to find that information at the same time.
Definitely, I agree. Just one last thing that I wanted to ask you is the tech companies or the clients that currently Digio works with, right? How much, like we were talking about AI, and when it comes to AI, how much dependency now those bigger companies have on OpenAI or ChatGPT? Because coming from experience, what I've seen is now 90 or 95% of the SaaS companies, right?
Yeah.
They're like, before GPT was there, of course, they had their independent thing, but now I would say 95, 96% are all based on either Perplexity or OpenAI or any type of model, right? LLM model. So
Copilot.
yeah,
big
I
one,
mean,
yeah.
But with your client base generally, how, like in terms of AI, how are they embracing it? Are they also becoming as dependent in AI terms? Are they having their own LLM systems? Because a lot of companies are creating that level as well. Or are they still heavily, like, are they now heavily dependent on the existing models?
I think they're definitely shifting. And I think it was with the emergence of the likes of ChatGPT, Copilot, and so on. Once they were introduced into companies, and even doing simple searches, just search through my documents and find everything that you can find about this project X. It's just amazing how quickly you can find it. So once they're able to even do small tasks like that, your staff will start to embrace that very, very quickly. Because the main thing about bringing in a new technology is that the staff need to buy into it, and they will buy into it as soon as they see it's going to save them time and give them the information they need quicker, and make their job easier. So if a technology makes somebody's job harder, it's not a good technology. If it makes it easier, it's a really good technology. So I'm finding more and more that a lot of staff, particularly new staff, when you take them on, if they've ever used any AI before, if you try to bring them into an environment that has no AI, they don't like it. They really don't like it. It's like, I'm not going back to work in an environment where I don't have the tools that I need. So they're no longer being thought of as, great tools to have. I wish I had them. They're now like essential tools, and I just can't work without them because I'm just not efficient, and the staff can see it themselves. And I think as soon as a company embraces these technologies, they immediately see the benefits. It's not something that, over time you're going to see efficiencies and so on. This is an immediate, it's a very, very instant thing that happens. So I would highly recommend any companies who haven't really embraced AI yet, have a look at it. Don't be afraid of it. Do a little bit of research if you need to. Go talk to them. Go talk to the companies themselves. They'll show you demos. They'll show you how it works. They have loads of these explainer videos and so on. And don't be afraid of the technology. The benefits of it far outweigh any of the concerns that you might have about it.
Great, perfect. Thanks a lot, Cara. Thanks for joining.
Thanks a million, Dhruv. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.